Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Happy International DeFi Day for 2023. I'm Joshua Shigala, and I'm welcoming all of you here today to join us to celebrate all things DeFi. Thanks to all the people here in the comments. Today we're not here just to celebrate DeFi. We're really here to finally explain to Uncle Bob why it's not really a good idea to tokenize his tomato plants, but also to explain what can be done with DeFi, how we can get away from the CBDCs, how we can have an exit door to say, look, if you guys mess up the CBDCs, we have an amazing bunch of tools here that will allow us to decentralize and allow us to have self-sovereignty over our financial future. And this doesn't only mean like things like Bitcoin where you can send some money and get paid, but actually being able to borrow, lend, have liquidity in pools, futures, contracts, all of this great financial stuff, taking away from Wall Street and bringing it onto the blockchain. And why would you do that? Well, for mass transparency. We're taking something that's totally intransparent and corrupt or corruptible on Wall Street and being able to bring it on chain with the ultimate of regulation, which is mathematics. So we have an amazing live stream today. It's going to be hours of great stuff. So please hit that like button, smash up the likes, and show your love. We have so many people in the chat already waiting to go. Thanks to everyone here. To the moon, Crypto Kezi. Thank you very much. Yeah, man, it's going to be a very long stream full of alpha information like that. Really, as you're trying to find good projects, it's streams like this which will show you not only the huge big projects like we saw Arbitrum, Nick from Arbitrum come and join us. We've got Polygon coming up. We've got Syscoin Bond Protocol. We've got a whole bunch of things. But next up, we have DERO Protocol. We're joined by Kalina Lux from DERO Protocol. DERO is dubbed the privacy-focused Ethereum. So this is, I think, really near and dear to my heart. That DERO needs. DERO really is setting the stage for privacy-focused blockchain techs and unlocking that dimension of security and anonymity within EVM. And in an era where privacy really does matter and it's getting more and more important, that DERO is here to safeguard your transactions and data. And so it'll to find out more, let's bring up Kalina. Kalina, thanks for joining us and celebrating International DeFi Day with us.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure. And I also want to let you know my mic isn't working. So for some reason, your system won't recognize my mic. So if there's a problem with the audio, let me know.
It sounds wonderful. You're coming through loud and clear. And I'm sure the chat will let us know ASAP if it isn't. But to me, you're sounding wonderful.
Excellent.
Now, for me, one of the biggest problems with Ethereum and EVMs is the fact that if I go down to the local corner store and pay for Coke with some ETH or whatever coin I have, suddenly the person behind the counter knows every NFT I have in that wallet and every crypto and every other thing I do and when and where I go and what. It's extraordinarily dangerous. I mean, if you live in a really law-abiding place, then maybe you don't feel that. But if you're living in a bit more of a sketchy environment, this is kind of scary. And I think this is putting a barrier to entry to actually making this grow more mainstream. Tell us a little bit about DERO. Where did you start? Where did you guys start? And how does it work?
Yeah. That's a really great point because it's not just other people that we need to protect ourselves from. It's the social engineering that comes from mass data surveillance, right? And so if they know which NFTs you own, then you might be much more easy to market to. So it goes way, way beyond just protecting ourselves from potential criminals. But I have prepared a presentation for you guys. Should I share?
Wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. Share away. I love nothing more than a good presentation.
Okay. I'm just
There
gonna
we go.
present this here. Just a moment.
So yeah, while we're waiting, folks, remember to smash the likes and or hit it or tap it or drill it, whatever you can. It's free to do, and it really helps us out.
All right, you guys. So thank you so much for that introduction. I do really believe that, excuse me, goodness, DERO is the world's most advanced and unparalleled privacy technology that we've ever seen, and that we potentially will see for possibly, hopefully, the next 300 years, because I certainly know that that's what the developers of DERO intend to do.
I like
So
it.
let's
I
get
like
into
it.
it. I mentioned before, goodness, DERO is unstoppable, uncensorable, ungovernable. And literally, if you were to try to break the encryption scheme that DERO uses, it would take an impossible amount of time, because not only would you have to decrypt each one of the transactions, DERO also possesses the ability for private messaging. So let's say I write you saying, hey, what are you doing later? Do you want to hang out? And you write me back, sure, what time? Each one of those would take like upwards of 30 years using the world's most advanced quantum computing that we have access to even decrypt one of those messages. Now, think about if you really want to do some damage on the whole blockchain, that would take so long, and it's virtually impossible to break our encryption scheme. So that is one of the most profound things that I think that DERO offers. But today our agenda is going to be super quick and fast, because I know we have limited time. What is DERO? Why DERO? Not just for people using it, but for developers. Who can benefit from DERO, and the power when you combine DERO's private services with private by default smart contracts. And I'm also going to share with you guys a few up and coming projects in the ecosystem. All right, so from the developers themselves, DERO is a general purpose, private and scalable decentralized application platform that allows developers to deploy powerful and unstoppable applications while users retain total control over their assets with complete privacy. It is the goal of the developers of DERO to create a sound monetary framework that will globally safeguard the privacy of all users and empower free markets to thrive while maintaining complete auditability, which no other blockchain promises so far. So here's some specs I think that your users and your followers will really love. 18-second block times. I've even seen it as basically under 4 seconds if you're using your own node. We have a small market cap around 90 million, and we are obviously private by default, meaning that you don't have to go figure out how to make your transactions private. It's always private, unless you go figure out how to make it transparent. If you want that, that is an option.
Very important. Very important. That is default, I think.
Yes, exactly. It's open sourced, and our community is highly decentralized, and all of our assets are native, meaning emitted, not emulated. And if you like those, then you're going to love these. DERO, the creators of DERO, named Captain, has invented the most advanced homomorphic encryption protocol on the planet. It's called the DERO Homomorphic Encryption Blockchain Protocol. And as if that wasn't enough to have their entire layer 1 written in ciphertext, they've added like 256 ring signatures, so you can actually choose how private you want your transaction to be, as well as they've added rocket bulletproofs, where you don't even have to decrypt the data to obtain the proof, which is mind-blowing. I mentioned before private smart contracts and services. We're going to get into that later. Instant wallet syncing. You don't have to refresh. It'll just instantly sync. And we have human readable addresses. So if you wanted to send me DERO, you could simply type in Kalina as the wallet address, and that works on any of the exchanges as well. We also have the world's most encrypted messaging system utilizing the same homomorphic encryption that I mentioned earlier. We have a decentralized proof of work mining, and we have no trusted setups. It's fully auditable using the search engine Gnomon, which I cannot wait to tell you guys about because it's just revolutionary. Any questions so far for me? I'm going to pop back over to the stream, or should I continue?
Yeah, go for it. Continue away. Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, so I think a lot of you guys probably know TechLeaks24. He is a tech journalist, very active on Twitter. And this is his quote: If a revolution broke out tomorrow, DERO would be the only tech safe to use. I can send messages natively, I can trade, I can store value, all encrypted, never decrypted in any part of the process. What other privacy coin can be such a fortress of last resort in a shift hits the fan scenario? So I think that really spells it out and sums out why DERO. For those of you guys, I don't actually know who is going to be tuning into this live stream, but if you're a lot like us, I think you're probably very aware of what might be, hopefully not, but probably coming down the pipeline in terms of surveillance with, a social credit score system and the CBDCs. So why
Oh
DERO?
yeah, it's really really important. I mean, I talk to many people about privacy quite often, and it's always like, oh yeah, but if you're a criminal, if you've got nothing to hide, it's like, okay. So do you run a business? Do you want your customers to know exactly where you source the things you're selling them to and how much markup you're making? Do you want your employees to exactly know how much? Because sometimes there's strife there. Maybe you do want them, but you can have that choice rather than right now. It's a complete nightmare.
Absolutely. And not just to mention that, but the censorship that's been going on just for any reason. But I'm going to touch on that here in a bit also. So if you are interested in possibly building projects and you're looking for an ecosystem to put your dream project on, why DERO? Well, we mentioned that DERO is private by default, which is hugely advantageous for people that are not techie, that are using your product. And it's permissionless, meaning you don't have to ask anybody to do anything on the DERO blockchain. You just do it. It's trustless, meaning in DERO we have a saying, verify, don't trust. And I really like that because it puts the responsibility back into the users, and it's really our responsibility to verify. So DERO creates a trustless, which is, I think you guys are probably aware of what that means, but we're also in the early adoption phase, which means that if you start a project right now on DERO, you are going to meet the core of our community and have help from them. You're going to have access to them, and it's just such a it's so grassroots right now that if you're building on DERO and you have a project and you're passionate about it, you're going to have access to the community that you need and the support that you need. Unlike a lot of other projects where if you come in and build a project, you have to bring your own community versus we already have one for you. There's no big money, no dirty money in DERO. There's no venture capitalist money. In fact, there have been people that have approached the DERO developers, and they've all been politely but firmly turned down. They can't be bought. They won't be sold out.
Nice.
And the world's only encrypted services, I mentioned, native assets, smart contracts, let's go. Okay, so the power of DERO services. Just like other smart contract platforms, you can use APIs from different applications and services in other aspects of the internet to tie in to DERO's API via the RPC. And this gives us amazing functionality to integrate both on-chain and off-chain. And so an example of this would be, let's say there comes a day where you are confined to 15-minute smart cities and you're not allowed to leave, but you need to leave and you need to navigate somewhere else. If you use your own Google Maps, you would be tracked and traced. But let's say somebody builds a decentralized application on DERO, which uses the API of Google Maps as well as the API of DERO. Well, now you could have an anonymous GPS. So that's just one example of the infinite amount of capabilities that we could do and build together on the DERO blockchain. Are you guys kind of getting what I'm throwing down here?
Oh man, I freaking love it. It's like not only an L2, it's an L2 to the internet.
It's a layer one, but yeah, it can create. Yes, it definitely.
L2 to the internet. So if you see Google Maps as the internet, putting this in the middle of it between you and the open web sounds like a really great way of obfuscating
Yes,
data.
absolutely, absolutely. Alrighty, so now let's talk about that. When you combine it with the power of smart contracts, you can create totally trustless situations and setups using the API and smart contracts. So in DERO services, I mentioned the messaging aspect. What that means is that with each transaction, you can attach a certain small amount of characters, like an API key or some kind of code that will allow you to program services into smart contracts. And so really what you're doing is you're taking out these third parties that are not only profiting massively off of our, we're giving up convenience in order for them to give us, they're giving us convenience and we're giving up our data. Like when with these companies called Alchemy and Infura. Without that, in DERO, you don't actually have to utilize third parties because you can create your third party using smart contracts paired with DERO services. So the implications of this are infinite and massive when you really, really start to think about it. We also boast a very vibrant NFT and NFA standard and marketplace on DERO. I have my own collection, Taro Luma, and NFAs are actually, they're unlike anything that we've seen in the NFT world. The NFA standard was written by the Civilware team, and they're also part of the DERO Foundation. High level stuff in terms of privacy and programmability, and they're really setting the stage for things like actual properties to be NFAs, non-fungible assets, live on DERO one day when we're not able to transact potentially with these governments that are trying to surveil and control us. All right, so what are some up and coming projects? We've got Engram, which is the graphical user interface wallet. It is a desktop standalone application from the DERO Foundation themselves. And that has a bunch of features that we're going to go over in the next slides. Gnomon, which I just cannot wait to share with you guys. It's unheard of. Nobody's done anything like this. We have the world's first private by default and encrypted casino with fungible assets called Dreams. On there, you can play things like Baccarat, Texas Hold'em, sports predictions, and just a whole host of other things on there. In response to the GoFundMe situation in Canada, where the truckers got blocked for fundraising due to their status, we'll call it status, DERO community members created Private Islands, which is a private GoFundMe crowdsourcing platform. In response to the recent Airbnb censorships, where a woman who was very vocal about not poisoning her blood stood up and said, hey, we're not doing this. Well, they banned her, but they didn't just go there. They banned her whole family from using Airbnb. And so what did the DERO community do in response to this? They have built Airbnb, which as of right now is part of the Dreams decentralized application, but is going to be its own standalone application as well as website. And I've seen it and it's beautiful and it's going to really give Airbnb a run for its money. We have the DERO Dex, which I'll give you a preview of. G45 is a very prolific developer in our community who is building out a mobile wallet with its own built-in NFT marketplace in it. And D Market, which is a new project, but we have 2 minutes left, so let me just speed it on up. Gnomon, this is fantastic. You guys know how right now, mostly all other cryptos have to utilize third parties like Alchemy and Infura to query to see what their smart contracts balances are or their tokens, etc. With Gnomon, you get this search engine built into your wallet, which is user-facing, that only ever has to scan the data and give it to you. No third parties necessary. So it's groundbreaking technology. Here's a little preview of the DEX where you can bridge over assets from Ethereum straight into the DERO ecosystem. And here were some winners from our recent DARK competition, a visual scripting tool, which if you're interested in building smart contracts using a graphical interface, you can use that. If you want to know more stats about DERO and its blockchain, if you're interested in mining, you can check out derostats.io. And lastly, I will leave you with this quote. In an age driven by centralized data empires, we sacrificed our digital privacy and trusted large faceless organizations who exploited, sold, censored, and manipulated our digital and financial presence just so that we could participate in that world. In a new age driven by decentralized, interconnected, private, and trustless systems, we can and will build a better, more fair world for all. That is from the DERO project developers, and our motto is privacy together. If you guys have any questions or you want more information, you can follow the DERO Discord. DERO.io is the website. My YouTube channel, where I interview a ton of high-level developers and community members in the DERO project, is the portal with Kalina Lux. And you can join my Discord from there. Find me on Twitter, Kalina Lux. And yes, you guys, thank you for having me. Any other questions?
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, we had one comment, well, we had a few comments, but one of them is, can this privacy be exploited but in a negative way, hiding places for bad guys and dangerous scams and things like that? Just to quickly add my 2 cents on that, obviously, the world is full of bad people as well as good people. There's far more good people than bad people, even though the media doesn't like you to know that. And the thing is that this all goes down to good old-fashioned police work. Police need to do their job, find the bad guys, and do it that way, rather than going and surveilling everybody and controlling everybody like some sort of control freak, because that's a very, very slippery slope. Kalina, what do you have to say about that?
I agree. Honestly, you're going to find that in everything, even things that you deem are perfectly safe, right? Bad guys will find ways to do bad things. Look at our governments, for example. They will always find a way. So it's less about that, right? Because they're going to find that, but it's more about creating solutions that protect us. And within the DERO framework, you can find solutions that simultaneously protect you from bad guys, as well as protect your freedom and your sovereignty and your privacy. So I would focus on that and create the things that you're hoping to do.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Kalina, for sharing everything, DERO, and keep up the great work with the whole team over there. Yeah, enjoy International DeFi Day. We're doing everything we can to push the message for all great projects like yourselves and some of the other people we've had on the stream. Well, all the other people we've had on the stream so far have been fantastic. So thank you very much, Kalina, and let's catch up again on another stream, and keep talking. Yeah, cheers. All right, there goes. Yeah, thank you, Kalina. Thank you very much. Wow, mind blown. It's amazing.